Hello everyone. Today we are doing part 2 of the units and numbers chapter for ESAT Mathematics 1. In part 1 we had discussed up to the order of operations, which was the BODMAS rule or the PEMDAS rule for computers. Today we will start with systematic listing. This section on systematic listing is very closely related to the concepts of counting principles, and you will be using these mostly in the chapter on probability, where you will use these to figure out the total number of cases, and then you will use the number of favorable cases in the numerator and calculate the probability that way. So what is systematic listing? If there are m ways of doing one task, and for each of these there are n ways of doing another task, so the total number of ways in which the task can be done is m into n. Now this might be an incredibly easy statement, but the problems arising from this statement can get a bit tricky. So let us take the first question. It asks how many possible 4-digit codes are possible where each digit is different. Try it. Okay, how do we do this problem? 4-digit codes, right? Now they are not asking us about 4-digit numbers. So if the question asked about 4-digit numbers, then we could not place 0 in the first place, because placing 0 in the first place would change it into a 3-digit number. Like for example, 0352 is a 3-digit number, 352, right? So in a code, I can plug in any digit. Okay, so number of choices for the first place is 10, 0 to 9. The number of choices for the second place will be 9, because you have already used up one digit in the first place. So it will be 10 into 9 into 8 into 7. Right? So it's 90 into 56. That should be about 5040. How many possible 4-digit codes where 2 digits are the same and always together while the others are unique? So 2 digits are the same and always together. So what could be example of this code? Something like 1165 or 6223 as an example. Now, if 2 digits are always together, let us consider them as one packet. All right. Now, how many ways are there in which you can write these digits? There are 10 choices, right? Because from 0 to 9, there are 10 choices. And then for the next one, there are 9. And for the one after that, there is 8. So you have 10 into 9 into 8, right? But this 10 choices that we made in the first case, where we considered the same numbers to be in the packet, this packet can be placed in 3 different places, because there are a total of 4 slots and you will have to place them consecutively. So it can either be on 1, 2, 2, 3 or 3, 4 position. So in this case, your answer will be 10 into 9 into 8 into 3. Okay, I hope you got that. Next question. How many license plates can be created with 2 letters followed by exactly 4 digits if the 2 letters cannot be the same and no digit is repeated? Try this question. This is very similar to question 4 that we had discussed. I hope you have solved it. So 2 letters followed by 4 digits. Everything is different, right? So if you are using 2 letters and none of them are repeated, then there are 26 options in position 1, 25 in position 2. And for the digits, it will be 10 into 9 into 8 into 7. Multiply this, it will be a huge answer, but it is what it is. Question 7. How many license plates can be created with 2 letters and up to 4 digits? There must be at least one digit, and treat 01 as different to 1 in the context of the license plate. Alright. So up to 4 digits. That means there could be 2 letters and at least one digit. So here you will form cases. So 2 letters, 1 digit, that means 26 into 10, because nowhere does it says that the letters cannot be repeated. So AA0 would be the first number plate and so on. Okay, then you have AA00. All right, so count this way. You will have 26 square into 10, 26 square into 10 square, 26 square into 10 cube, and 26 square into 10 to the power 4. Add up all of these, whatever the answer comes out to be, that should be your solution. Now these problems are a bit calculation heavy, so most likely in problems of probability you will get the numerator in a way such that stuff cancels out and your calculation will not be this huge. Anyway, I'll reveal all the answers. Please check your calculation and steps. 5040, 2160. This enormous multiplication is 3276,000. And this calculation, you can use the formula for GP and you will end up with 7510360. Alright. Moving on. Square roots. The square root of a number is by definition positive. Remember this. When I say square root of x, it means the positive part. That's why the graph of the square root of x is like this. It's only the positive part. Standard definition of square roots. For cube roots, you do not have such ambiguity. Okay, if the number is positive, the cube root is positive. If the number is negative, the cube root is negative. Please go through the index laws. You will need all of these to simplify. Also, these are general mathematical properties that you should be aware of while completing any calculation. Surds. Okay, what are surds? A surd is an irrational number expressed in lowest terms. So for example, root 8 would be an irrational number, but if I express it as 2 square root of 2, that becomes a surd. All of these properties of surds are valid only if a and b are positive real numbers. If you take negative real numbers, you will end up with a fallacy. So I'll show you an example. take a to be minus 1 and b to be minus 1, then you get square root of a into square root of b is square root of minus 1 into square root of minus 1, which is square root of 1, which is 1. That shouldn't be the case, right? Because square root of minus 1 is I and square root of minus 1 is also I, so I square should be equal to minus 1. You get minus 1 is equal to 1. That's a fallacy, which proves that the Surd's laws are valid only for a and b positive. You will use all of these in simplification and rationalization problems. If there is a surd in the denominator, multiply the numerator and the denominator with its conjugate. If the denominator was in a square root form, then you will probably be using the difference of squares formula to get rid of the square roots, and the numerator will be whatever you calculate it to be. Try this sum. If a plus b root 2 into 2 plus 2 root 2 is equal to 10 plus 7 root 2, find a and b. I hope you got the answer. I'll reveal all the answers at the end of this page. The standard form of a number is also known as its scientific notation, and it is written as a into 10 to the power n, where a should be between 1 and 10. Notice that there is no equality sign when we are dealing with the 10 on the right hand side. Okay, when you multiply numbers in the standard form, take care of the constant part separately and multiply the powers separately. That will make your calculation easier. Same with division as well as powers. When these products a into b or a to the power k exceed 10, you can bring out one 10 from here and put it in the collection of 10 powers. Try to evaluate this. Should be quite simple. I hope you have done both of these problems. Let me reveal the answers. Do check it against your work. So in the first one, you will have a equal to 3 and b equal to 2, and in the next one, you will have 2.8 into 10 to the power minus 1. Okay, now we have a block of text. So let me walk you through this. These are basically rules for interchanging forms of rationals. Now rational numbers can be changed into decimals, decimals can be changed into ratios, percentages, mixed fractions, all sorts of stuff. So to convert a mixed number into an improper fraction, convert the integer part of the fraction with the same denominator as the fractional part and then add on to this fractional part. Okay, mixed number to an improper fraction. To convert an improper fraction into a mixed number, divide the numerator by the denominator. The answer to the division is the whole part and any remainder is over. To convert an improper fraction into a mixed number, divide the numerator. The answer will be of the format whole number part plus the fractional part consisting of the remainder over the original denominator. To cancel a fraction to its lowest terms, divide it by the highest common factor. Equivalent fractions can be found by multiplying a common factor to both the numerator and the denominator. To convert a fraction to a decimal, just divide. Alternatively, we can use equivalent fractions to write the fraction over a denominator which is a power of 10 if possible. Okay, this will not always be possible. If, for example, your fraction is 3 by 7, there's no way you can write it as a denominator of 10. Alright, to convert a decimal to a percentage, yeah, multiply by 100. To convert a percentage to a decimal, divide by 100. To convert a terminating decimal into a fraction, use the smallest place value to identify the denominator and write the digits in the decimal as the numerator. Okay, so 0.0307, how many decimal places are there? 4. So write the denominator as 10 to the power 4 and the remaining digits as the numerator. Now there are two ways of converting recurring decimals into fractions. I'll show you both of them. Try this problem first. Express 0.42 recurring as a fraction. I hope you have done it. The most common technique we have learned is multiply this by 100. So you will get 42.424242 and so on. And then subtract this one. So you will get 100 x is equal to 42.424242. X is equal to 0.424242. Subtract these two, you will get 99x is equal to 42. And x becomes 42 by 99, which is 14 by 33. This is the method that is mostly always applicable. But there will be some weird recurring decimals like 0.0342 bar on 42. Alright. So for these numbers, this method becomes a bit lengthy. You'll have to multiply with increasingly higher powers of 10 and it will be a bit complicated. So for that, you can use the method of geometric progression. I've illustrated it here with this problem. It might seem like a overkill for this problem, but it's always better to know two methods than to know one. So if you have a recurring decimal like this 0.4242, you can write it as 0.42 plus 0.0042 plus 0.4042 and so on. So this is 42 by 10 square plus 42 by 10 to the power 4 plus 42 by 10 to the power 6 ... This is an infinite GP. So take 42 common. The first term becomes 10 to the power minus 2 and the common ratio is also 10 to the power minus 2. So use the formula of sum to infinity, which is a by 1 minus r. So 10 to the power minus 2 by 1 minus 10 to the power minus 2, which gives you 42 by 99, which is 14 by 33. Okay, I hope you have understood both methods. And now we will move into upper and lower bounds. Now this is a bit complicated, but you will mostly be using this in physics, or you have probably learned it in physics where you look into error propagations and stuff. So if a number is rounded to a value x, then the greatest lower bound is the smallest number which would round up to x. If the number was 3.84 correct to 2 decimal places, then the lower bound would be 3.835 and the upper bound would be 3.845. This means 3.835 less than equals to 3.84 less than 3.845. I did not place the equality here because if I put equality here and you reach 3.845, that would round off to 3.85. It will go to the next number. So less than equals to for the greatest lower bound and less than for the least upper bound. There are multiple formulae relating to these concepts, so let us go over them one by one. Whenever you are multiplying two numbers that have their error bounds associated with them, you can multiply their corresponding upper bounds and multiply their corresponding lower bounds. When you are adding, you can do the same thing, add the corresponding upper bounds and add the corresponding lower bounds. Alright, let us look at a sum illustrating this. We'll do the bounds for division later. So this is the question. The length of the rectangle 23.6 centimeter, correct to one decimal place, width is 14.7. What is the upper bound of perimeter? So in perimeter you are adding, right? The upper bound would be 23.65 here, 14.75 there. So complete the calculations. I hope you are done with the calculation. The perimeter would be twice into, don't forget the 2, twice into 23.65 plus 14.75, which will give you 76.8, and the area would be 23.65 into 14.75, which is just a big multiplication, which will turn out to be 348.8375. Okay, now going back to the bounds for division. When you are calculating the bounds for division, the least upper bound would be the least upper bound of the numerator divided by the lower bound of the denominator. Okay, that will happen because you are trying to maximize the upper bound, so you will take the lower value in the denominator. When you are trying to figure out the lower bound, you will try to minimize it, so you will take the maximum value in the denominator. Okay, so LUB of A by B is equal to LUB of A, so these are equal. GLB of A by B is equal to GLB of A, so these are equal. All right, notice this pattern and you will not forget the formula. A problem illustrating the formula for division rules. If the volume of a piece of wood is 270 centimeter cube to the nearest 10, okay, not nearest 0.5, to the nearest 10, and the mass is 540, correct to the nearest 10, find the upper and lower bounds of the density. Density is equal to mass by volume, right? So the upper bound for this would be 550, the lower bound would be 530, the upper bound for this would be 280, and the lower bound would be 260. Use that, calculate your answers. I hope you have completed the calculation. So least upper bound would be LUBM divided by GLB of V, which is 545 by 265, which is approximately equal to 2.06. All right. Then GLB of M by V will be equal to GLB of M divided by LUB of V, which is equal to 535 divided by 275, which will approximately be 1.95. All right. Now we will look into subtraction. Subtraction will follow almost the same principle as division. The least upper bound of A minus B will be least upper bound of A minus lower bound of B. Again, you are supposed to maximize this and minimize that. All right. So yeah, it's basically the same as division. Instead of the division sign, we put the minus sign. All right. So this is a problem that combines all of these formulae. If A, B, and C are given, correct to the nearest whole number as 6, 3, and 2. What is the upper and lower bounds of B square minus 4AC? I hope you have solved this problem. Let us look at the solution. They are correct to the nearest whole number, right? So we should be using the first decimal place to formulate the upper and lower bounds. B is 3, so it lies between 2.5 and 3.5. So B square lies between 6.25 and 12.25. Okay, square it. This is how you write the bounds of A and C. For products, the bounds are multiplied. So multiply A and C and then multiply it with 4. That will get rid of the decimals and you get whole numbers. So for B square minus 4AC, you start for the least upper bound of B square minus 4AC, follow this formula, least upper bound of A. So A is the first portion here, right? So the least upper bound is 12.25 minus the greatest lower bound of B, which is this value. So you will get minus 20.75. The greatest lower bound of the first part, which is 6.25, subtract the least upper bound of the second part, which is 65, you will get minus 58.75. All right. So I hope that clears up this portion on bounds. Now we will look into the rule for rounding numbers. The rule for rounding numbers is quite simple. If the digit in the last decimal place is 5 or more, add 1 to the penultimate digit, else keep it the same. Okay. This is the rule that you will follow for ESAT and TMU. To round it off using significant figures, count the digits from left to right. Okay. Start with the non-zero digit furthest to the left and cut off all digits to the right of the required significant figure. Okay. Replace them with zeros if they are to the left of the decimal point. The last topic that we will do today is estimation. Estimation is mostly used to eliminate options in ESAT. So you might have seen that there are multiple options like 1 million, 10,000, 100, 1 by 10, 1 by 100 and so on. So if there are options like this, instead of doing the actual calculation, you would rather know the dimensions of the answer that you are looking for. If you know that, then you can eliminate all the other options very easily. You don't need the exact value. You just need to know the ballpark, and estimation helps with that. So numbers are approximated usually to 1 or 2 significant figures to enable a simple calculation. You can also use rounding off. For example, 397,000 would be rounded off as 400,000. Okay. Pi can be approximated as 3. E, the Euler's constant, which you will learn in ESAT M2, can be approximated to 2.5 or 3, depending on the accuracy that you need. Surds are usually approximated to the nearest square numbers. So root over 15.6 is approximated to 4. I will leave you all with a homework question. Try this weird estimation problem. Use rounding offs and all the hints and information that I have mentioned in the section on estimation. You can put your answer down in the comments and I'll make sure to check them. If you're struggling with any of the chapters in ESAT or TMU, please book a one-to-one class with me using the links in the description. If you need more practice problems, do check out the Amazon links in the description. I'm sure the books there will help you. With that being said, I'll end this video here. This concludes chapter 1 and 2 of the ESAT M1 syllabus. Make sure to view the playlist for further chapters. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Take care.